Japan is sounding the alarm on joint operations happening between China and Russia and growing threats from North Korea. The country's defense ministry writing this: the international society is in a new crisis era as it faces the biggest challenges since the end of World War II. The document also warning that the military balance between China and Taiwan is rapidly tilting in China's favor. But new questions are coming out regarding just how strong Xi Jinping and how much power Xi Jinping really has. The mainstream media seems to be catching up with what I've been reporting for some time. This is what you heard here back in February. Watch. A source close to the Chinese Communist Party told me that Xi Jinping is a lot weaker than anyone knows because he had a mini stroke a year ago, last summer. And when he had the mini stroke, the Politburo took the military away from Xi Jinping. He does not oversee the military any longer. This is a very important point to make as we are looking at an economic soft war underway between the U.S. and China. Trump is going to be a lot tougher on Xi Jinping and the Chinese economy than you saw in the last administration. Joining us now with more on all of this is Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you. I wanted to point that out because this is such an important point about Xi Jinping. What do you think? Yeah,
I think he has lost control of the military. And we can see this especially since March when his #1 hatchet man, his enforcer in the military, General He Weidong, he was last seen in public on March 11th. There are rumors that he was suicided in May. We don't know if those are true, but we do know he's out of circulation, which means that Xi Jinping's #1 supporter in the military is gone. And it's not just this general. It's a lot of other generals and an admiral as well, which means I think the most powerful person in the Chinese military is a guy named General Zhang Youshao, who is the #2 in the Central Military Commission, the #1 uniformed officer. That's the guy to watch.
I'd like to know what this means for Taiwan and China's plans in terms of going into Taiwan. Any thoughts on a weaker Xi Jinping's impact on Taiwan?
Well, right now, the Chinese military is in disarray because of the infighting. So I don't think that China is in a position to start hostilities with an invasion of the main island of Taiwan.
Okay.
Now, but the point is, the Chinese military can easily get into a lot of trouble elsewhere because of all these provocative activities from South Korea in the north to Australia in the south. Law of averages says that one of those incidents goes bad. And when that goes bad, because of the turmoil in Beijing, China can't de-escalate. So I worry that Taiwan gets involved in a war because the whole region goes to war.
Yeah, but we can't write off communist China in terms of their ability. I mean, look what they're doing right now at the Panama Canal. New this morning, China is threatening to block the sale of the Panama Canal ports. That's more than 40 ports that are right now being sold to BlackRock and to MSC, unless Chinese shipping company COSCO does not get a stake. So China wants COSCO involved in this port sale. Beijing is claiming that the economy is holding strong, even though trade uncertainty is happening. They're reporting that second quarter GDP growth of 5.2% this year. I'm not buying it. What about you on the growth of the economy? Bloomberg reports that President Trump is softening his tone on China to score a summit with Xi Jinping and secure a more permanent trade deal. I'm not buying that either. What do you think?
Well, first of all, on the economy, China did not grow at 5.2.
Exactly.
We see this from price data because the country is in deflation. You know, you had in June was the 33rd straight month that the producer price index was in negative territory. When you look at the last 5 months, CPI has been down 4 of them. For the first half, the CPI has been down 0.1%. Obviously, much more than that. Look, when you have a country in deflation, it's very, very unlikely that you can report 5.2. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and that has an impact on the global economy. You're talking about the second largest economy, Mark.
Well, in China, I mean, they're an economy that has been dependent on exports. So deflation has helped them to export more goods. The issue is now with tariffs in place, they're going to have to somehow, some way figure out how to become a consumer-driven economy. And when you've got 63 million properties that are vacant, that's a problem. You've got deflation running rampant. Why would you buy something today when you know it's going to be cheaper 3 months from today? It kills demand.
I totally agree. You know, I just worry about this port deal. I mean, the fact that Beijing is trying to block this port deal unless COSCO, a Chinese company, is involved, that tells you that they're going to continue the surveillance at the Panama Canal.
Yeah, well, Xi Jinping, he summoned Li Ka-shing's son. Li Ka-shing is Hutchison. Hutchison is the owner of these ports or operator of these ports. So Beijing is blocking it. And I think that this is going to become an item of negotiation between the United States and China. And, you know, Trump just should not give up on COSCO because they are a bad actor.
One of the things I'm really curious about, when I look at polling among Americans, they're not as concerned about China on some of these national security issues as they are about cost and pricing and what it means to their pocketbook issues. How do you explain what they should really be focused on? Of course, everybody's going to always be concerned about pricing, but
this is all about national security.
It's all about national security. And how do you explain it in the most fundamental way to Americans who don't really understand why this is so important?
Manufacturing is critical to the United States, and China, through its predatory trade policies, the one you talked about, is trying to decimate American factories. So, yeah, prices are a little bit cheaper temporarily, but what we have seen is that when China wants to dominate an industry, it lowers the prices, and then when it dominates it, the prices come back up again, and they use that for national security purposes like they did on rare earths.
Well,
the important thing here is we need to industrialize, we need high tariffs, and we need an investment tax credit so that U.S. businesses can grow or even have people just start them.
That
an
is
investment tax credit.
That's what the president is trying to do. He's trying to get the supply chains back to America.